Next version you starts now.
He was grinding nonstop until he asked one question. He used to wake up before the sun, but not for the right reasons. The alarm would scream into the silence, and he would move, fast, automatic, almost mechanical. No hesitation, no thought, just motion. Because that's what he believed hustle was: movement, noise, activity. Days filled with calls, messages, deadlines, metrics. Nights filled with screens, half-finished thoughts, quiet exhaustion. From the outside, it looked like discipline. It looked like ambition. It looked like he was building something real. But inside, something didn't feel right. At first, it was just a whisper, a subtle emptiness at the end of long days, a strange disconnect between effort and fulfillment. He told himself it was normal, that success required sacrifice, that this was just the price of becoming someone. So he pushed harder, more hours, more goals, more pressure. But the faster he ran, the less he felt like he was actually going anywhere. And that's when the burnout started creeping in. Not all at once, not dramatically, slowly. Like a dimming light he didn't notice until the room was almost dark. He would sit there at night, staring at a screen, wondering why none of it felt meaningful anymore. Numbers were growing, tasks were getting done, but fulfillment, nowhere. That's when it hit him. Not like a breakthrough, but like a quiet realization he couldn't ignore anymore. At that moment, he asked a question he had been avoiding for a long time. What am I really building? Silence answered first, because the truth was uncomfortable. He didn't know. Everything he had been chasing was borrowed. Goals he picked up from other people. Definitions of success he never questioned. A version of life that looked impressive, but felt empty. And that realization cut deeper than any failure ever had, because now he couldn't unsee it. The grind he was so proud of suddenly looked directionless, all that effort with no real meaning behind it. That's when everything started to shift. Not overnight, not perfectly, but intentionally. He stopped asking, "What's next?" and started asking, "Why does this matter?" At first, the answers were unclear, messy, incomplete, uncertain. But for the first time, he wasn't chasing noise. He was searching for truth. And that changed everything. Because when you stop running blindly, you finally notice where you are. He began to slow down, not in effort, but in awareness. He started cutting out things that didn't align, even when it felt uncomfortable. Even when it meant letting go of progress that didn't mean anything. Because now, clarity mattered more than speed. And somewhere in that process, he found it. Not a loud moment, not a dramatic epiphany, just a quiet, undeniable knowing. Purpose. Not the kind you post about, not the kind you fake for motivation, but something deeper. Something that made sense even when things got hard. That's when the hustle changed. It didn't disappear, it didn't slow down. It evolved, because now there was a reason behind every move. Every early morning had intention. Every late night had direction. The work didn't feel lighter, but it felt meaningful, and that made all the difference. Because here's the truth. Burnout doesn't come from working hard. It comes from working hard on something that doesn't matter to you. And he had lived that. But now, he was building something real, something aligned, something that mattered. At that moment, the fire came back. But this time, it was different. It wasn't forced. It wasn't fueled by pressure or comparison. It came from within, a steady, unshakable drive, the kind that doesn't need motivation,
because it's anchored in something deeper. Purpose gave his hustle a heartbeat. Now every rep had meaning, not just physically, but mentally. Every setback, it wasn't failure anymore. It was feedback, a lesson, a step forward, even when it didn't look like it. Because when you know why you're doing something, pain stops feeling pointless. Struggle becomes part of the process, and suddenly, quitting doesn't make sense anymore. He wasn't chasing validation anymore. He wasn't trying to prove anything to anyone. He was building something for himself, for his future, for something bigger than just numbers. That's when the shift became visible. Not just internally, but externally. His energy changed, his focus sharpened, his decisions became clearer. Because now, every move aligned with a mission. No wasted effort, no empty grind, just intentional action, day after day. And it wasn't perfect. There were still hard days, still moments of doubt, still times where progress felt slow. But the difference was, he didn't question the journey anymore, because he knew why he started, and that made it impossible to quit.
At his lowest moments, when things didn't go as planned, when the results didn't match the effort, that's when purpose spoke the loudest. Keep going. Not because it's easy, not because it's guaranteed, but because it matters. And that changes everything. Because when your hustle is fueled by ego, you burn out. But when your hustle is fueled by purpose, you break through. That's the moment most people never reach, because they stop too early, or they never ask the right question. They stay busy, but never aligned. Working, but not building. Moving, but not progressing. And he almost stayed there too, but he didn't, because one question changed everything. What am I really building? And the answer redefined his entire life. Now when people look at him, they still see the grind. The early mornings, the late nights, the relentless consistency. But what they don't see is what's driving it. It's not pressure, it's not fear, it's not comparison, it's purpose. And that's why it lasts. That's why it grows. That's why it doesn't break him. Because now, he's not just chasing income, he's building impact. Something that outlives effort. Something that actually means something. And when someone asks him, what keeps you going? He doesn't hesitate anymore, because now he knows, not just in words, but in truth. Purpose fuels hustle. And that's the difference. That's what separates movement from meaning, effort from impact, burnout from breakthrough. Because at the end of the day, hustle alone isn't enough, but hustle with purpose? That's unstoppable. And everything started to change the moment he understood that.